Hi everyone, today we are talking with David Cunningham. He is a CCO at Sedicii, and David has a lot of experience in FinTech industry, some articles, some interviews for media companies. So we are super excited to know more about his experience, to know more about fintech trends, to what's happening in Ireland, basically. So, hi, David. How are you?
Hey Sergey, great to speak with you today. Yeah, I'm very well.
That's great. So, will you share a little bit how you felt getting got acquainted with the fintech industry, how you get there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't have a financial services background per se. I set up some retail stores in the past. So I began as a retailer selling golf equipment in 1997. Yeah, I had a business that was quite successful. I was a golfer myself. I played on the Irish golf team and sold some equipment and did pretty well from that business. And then I branched out to do different things. I actually taught yoga full time for about 10 years. So quite a diverse kind of career path. When I was teaching yoga, I was teaching at the Web Summit, the famous Web Summit that was in Dublin and moved to Portugal after that, one of the best tech events globally. And I really noticed the tech industry as something really interesting and exciting. And I started a tech incubator in my hometown. And I also started a conference business myself to showcase entrepreneurship. I wrote to Eric Ries, the founder of the Lean Startup and the author of the Lean Startup book that most of us use, and we use a lot of the terms these days like minimum viable product and things like this. So I wrote to Eric and said, "Hey, can I bring your conference to Europe?" And he agreed, and I did that for a couple of years. And my host and my original sponsor was Level 39, the Europe's best fintech hub in my view at the time in 2016, and arguably still today the pioneer in fintech hubs globally in my view. So hosting the conference there, I got to know a lot of the fintech and regtech businesses that were growing up there. Also, blockchain was really coming to life, and obviously Bitcoin was going through its massive increase in value. But in general, London as a hub for financial services is where I've been based since 2016, and following the conference, I was asked to run a company which was in the reg tech business that looked at data sharing and, in particular, managing consent for data sharing in an environment where you have to cater for PSD2, open banking, and the GDPR, which was coming in. So yeah, I've had an interesting journey, lots of different businesses, but I'm passionate about the way the world shares data, the way we consume financial services, and I just a couple of months ago, I joined a great company called Sedicii, an Irish-based company, but with operations right across Europe, which we deal in certainty. Is really what we do. We try to provide certainty for digital transactions, for digital onboarding, for KYC, and also I suppose we support identity verification and the reduction of financial crime. So yeah, it's been a bit of a wild journey. Lots of different things. Got to meet a lot of really interesting people, and yeah, and travel a lot and speak at different conferences and just meet people who are doing interesting things in fintech and regtech. So yeah, it's an interesting field, that's for sure.
I see. That's really huge background. So Sedicii right now, and with With which kind of business do you usually work there?
So yeah, we're working with a lot of financial service providers. So we've got a really nice AML and financial crime solution, really that is what we call Prexa. So it does it's a pre-execution check on verifying both the sender and the receiver of data to make sure that they're not on any sanctions lists, and to make sure that we give beneficiary certainty. And we do this, we perform this check before a transaction is sent without parties having to share information. So we use zero knowledge proof, our patented solution, to ensure that that certainty is there, but without organizations having to share the full payload of information, or in fact, private data is never exposed at all. So it's a really novel solution that we're working with some really large banks on. So we're busy there. We also do real-time address verification. So we're working with some utility providers, some state utility providers, to ensure that somebody who gives an address actually lives at that address, which is really important. So we're doing that in Europe, and we've got some really exciting stuff happening in the United States as well around that. So that's not solely with financial service providers. It's for multiple use cases in multiple industries, that real-time address verification, which is really interesting. And then, you know, with our KYC expert product, which provides streamlined digital onboarding. That's with financial services, and you know, actually it's cross industry requirement now to verify people and to onboard them. So yeah, but we do focus very heavily on financial services for our products.
That's quite interesting services. How does digital onboarding work like, and what governments of different countries in Europe think about that?
Yeah, well, I think we've seen the rise of challenger banks across the world, which are app-only banks. They don't have physical locations, so there's no place to actually go in and show your passport and verify that you know, I am David Cunningham living at this address. We all want to do this digitally now, and it's no longer an option. It's almost you know, it's the table stakes for being digital these days, is to provide a good customer experience. And we can thank the fintechs, you know, the fintech leaders like Monzo, Starling, Revolut, doing you know, massive growth globally. We can thank them, I suppose, for making people more comfortable with onboarding quickly and securely to consume digital services. So it's you know, the incumbent banks are figuring that, look, you know, the old way of working, where we have a branch network, is of course expensive. It's inconvenient for people, and people want to consume services on demand. And we find a great, you know, but of course they have to marry their responsibilities as a regulated entity to ensure that people are who they say they are, and you know, so our solution gives confidence and certainty around onboarding new customers, and giving, you know, truly digital experience then.
Mm-hmm. And in Russia, there is no possibility, if you wanted to join some bank, to do this digitally. So how does this technology basically work like?
So you take a passport or a driver's license. You're essentially enter your name and address, and then our technology scans the document and picks up the details from a photo, and then usually there's a liveness check so that the video is activated on your phone. or computer, so that you're asked to smile, or you're asked to move or turn your head one way or the other, to ensure that you are the same person as what's in the photo, so that you're not creating fraudulent accounts. And essentially, you can get onboarded at a just over 20 clicks, which is really interesting. I mean, there was a nice survey done of all the digital banks, and Revolut were coming on top for digital onboarding with about 23 clicks or so to get onboarded. And depending on the type of service you're consuming, it's a really easy sign up experience. I don't know if um, there's it's like signing up for any digital service, except you do the scanning of the documents, and then we also verify those documents are real. We do some passport. We're starting a pilot now with the passport office in the UK to do real-time checks to say that, look, is this document still valid? And once you've onboarded someone, it's quite an easy, simple process. You just are, as I said, enter your name and address, scan the document, then do a liveness check, and then our technology takes over and ensures that this is a valid document. And where possible, we try to check with the issuer of that document. It's not always required, but I think it's the direction things are going, and where we're trying to push things. But yeah, it's a quite a seamless experience. So it means that customers don't have to go into the branch, and it makes for a really good experience. And once people have a digital capability, then with their app-based service, then you can really start to, for all financial service institutions and for the customer itself, it's just a lot more convenient, a lot less expensive, and it's 24/7 as well. So it's convenient.
Do people still need to use some paper contracts to send them to banks in that case?
No, it's all digital. It's all digital. So what we've seen in Europe and across the world really has been a process where we're going from paper-based processes. So for myself, for example, here in Ireland, I've got a bank form here, which is a long. I've been using a particular bank service, and they've changed the service on offer. So I need to cancel one service and get a better service from the same bank. But I have to fill out all of these forms here. I have to bring them in physically to the branch, and then I need to sign up another set of forms to sign up for the new digital service. So for my business banking, it's quite a complicated procedure, whereas some banks, you can do all of this online. So I think what we've seen is that people have gone from paper-based processes like this, where you have to drop it into a branch. At least I was able to print this at home myself rather than go in and collect at the branch. So at least that saves some time. But the evolution of things has been from a paper process and an in-person process to a digital version of this paper-based process, where I fill this out online and I send it on to the bank, and hopefully they can process. But I think what we're doing now, and as some friends like to describe it, we're going for a digitized paper-based process to a truly digital experience, which involves less cumbersome paperwork, much more streamlined experience, which saves time and is just convenient for everyone. So we've got these three stages, paper-based to digital, paper-based to truly digital experiences is where things are going. And I have no doubt that this will emerge in Russia too.
Yeah, obviously. And does your technology work for B2C clients or in B2B area too?
So we're an enabler of for financial service institutions and for any organization to serve their customer better. So we're a B2B provider, and our customers bring our solutions in white label form. We power their B2C offerings.
I mean, yeah, it's that's great. Uh, you work like B2B2C, but if it is some SME clients, it's still necessary for them to visit branches of banks to sign up some contracts to open
It
accounts.
shouldn't be, in my case here in Ireland, I still have to do this with one of my providers. But what we're seeing across the UK in particular, which is probably the leader in terms of fintech propositions globally, is that there's no need to visit a branch even for business customers.
Well, that's good news there. It's not so modern these days in Russia.
Yeah, I think the opportunity in Russia is to take a big leap from, rather than just going to say, look, we've got all this paper, can you make this digital? And digitize this, let me do it through the computer. You can make a big step to a much better streamlined experience. And obviously this saves a lot of time and money, and also when you capture things digitally, it's there is an audit trail there, so the documents can't go missing, and it just makes it a lot more streamlined. So I think you have the opportunity to really leap ahead. I think if you look at Australia, for example, this is obviously a very modern country. Uh, it looked at what the UK did with open banking and how they made banks open up their APIs so that third-party providers could build services with the express consent of the customer of the bank. They could offer additional services built on top of extracting data from the incumbent bank. So I think in Australia they looked at how that was implemented in the UK, and they made a better streamlined version of that. And likewise with the GDPR in terms of data regulation and how private data is managed. The Australians also looked at the GDPR, and they came up with what they have, which is the data right, which just came into place now. And again, they learned from experience from GDPR and from Europe. So I think for Russia, the the there's great opportunity to just fast track and learn from everybody else's pain in implementing big change, and just learn from those experiences to help us.
Do you mean do you talk right now about regulator or also about some fintechs?
Pardon me?
I mean, who should learn, government or fintech companies?
Well, I think it's a very good question. I think um, the because of banking is in particular is obviously a regulated industry, and governments also have a say in terms of how the data of citizens is managed. I think this requires a joined up approach from government, regulators, and the incumbent banks, and the new challengers, and the new fintechs coming together. So you need to have strong leadership from government, strong leadership from regulators, and then when you create a good environment, then innovation can happen. and fintechs can build new solutions. Incumbent banks can obviously wrestle with the challenges of the fintechs, but invariably the incumbent banks improve their offerings as a result, uh, and improve the features and services offered to their customers based on what the fintechs develop. So in the end, the consumer wins, and has more choice and has a better experience. So I think it's good if the government and the regulator leads to facilitate an environment where change happens.
By the way, your technology of digital onboarding, in which countries it work? Where you're going to I don't know, to scale, in which countries? What is your plans?
So we can check and verify documents in nearly 200 countries. So it's the same solution, and it's usually the same process most of the time. And then just the verification of documents is we have the capability to verify documents from nearly 200 countries for both um, for both private citizens and also for businesses. So there's also a Know Your Business or KYB solution where you can check the status of a business also. So that's also a solution that we provide. So yeah, we can cover pretty much 200 countries, and we have partners as well in places where we don't reach.
That's amazing. I thought that's I don't know. It's like a couple of dozens countries in the whole world implemented such legal regulations, but 200 countries, that's really amazing.
Yeah, I mean the not many of the countries have really, well, I suppose most countries now provide for technology companies and financial companies to onboard their customers using documents issued by the government. So we can check those documents to verify their authenticity in almost 200 countries now. So yeah, this is a global move. So I think, maybe this is the chance for Russia and to really to leap forward and to allow for this to really drive its digital economy forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a global trend. Everybody will be there sooner or later. Uh, Also, you said about interest in technology of verification of the transactions of both sides of transactions. How does it work? Like, do you, I don't know, take some information from some sources from internet, or is it something from open banking technologies? How is it possible?
Yeah, so it requires that both sides of a transaction, the sender and receiver, are part of a network, and the it means that Bank A and Bank B must be signed up to check whether, well, to agree at first on what questions are asked, so that they can uh, reduce the opportunity for fraud, and to ensure that there is certainty regarding who the receiving party and also the sending party are in a transaction, because neither bank wants to be handling money from an individual or a business who is on a sanctions list, or who is a suspicious transaction in general. So this just requires a network, so that both the sending and receiving party are answering certain questions. So in the parties agree what questions to ask. So is this, so let's say if if you want to send money to me, and you need to say, well, look, is Dave Cunningham on your customer on any known sanctions list, or is he a person of interest to certain authorities? You can ask those questions without sharing all of the information that you have on me. Your bank can ask those questions. So it's just a matter of a way of ensuring privacy and ensuring the minimal amount of data is shared, and in some cases almost none, about a person before a transaction goes ahead, just to allow for certainty to be established that, look, this person is who they say they are at this certain address, they're not on any sanctions list, the transaction is good to go, and this is not an account that has been associated with fraud in the past, or it's not an individual. So it's privacy enhancing technology.
I see. You said network. Is it some kind of network built by your company, or is it some worldwide network of banks?
Yeah, so it's just a network. So we're working with one very large private bank from Switzerland, and they have operations in multiple countries, and they need to check the beneficiary's account in another country, but they may, under data protection laws and also just for the privacy of the individual, not wish to they would wish to share the minimum amount of information possible. So we've run pilots with that bank where they're checking within different jurisdictions of the same bank, and now we're expanding into separate banks as well. So it just requires, it can be done internally for different divisions and different countries within one organization. And there's a lot of banks, not that we're working with Citibank at the moment, but if you take Citibank for an example, they would be a brilliant person for us to work with. As I said, we're not there with them yet, but they have operations in over 140 countries, and there's different legal jurisdictions and regulations in each country and each region around protecting the individual's privacy, and what also needs to be done for the financial services regulation. So, even one global organization, they have to be careful about what data they share. So the thing is, it's about financial services in this case, and about money being sent, and anti-money laundering technology, and prevention of financial crime. But also our technology works for the sharing of data. So if you want to ensure that data is going from one government agency to another government agency, for example, in a different country, you want to really make sure that the recipient of that data is who they say they are, and it's not being intercepted, and it's not the address has not been changed for the beneficiary of that data. So there's multiple use cases in multiple industries, even for that. But it does require a network to come together. Either it's one organization and its network, or it's multiple organizations.
Do you have some competitors in this field, or you work with them with partners sharing information within such a network?
Yeah, we have partners who provide fraud prevention solutions in the US, across Europe, Middle East, and Asia. We work with a number of partners who use some of our technology to improve their own services. We're always open to partner with new organizations to expand this. I mean, the fight against against anti-money laundering and financial crime is a global one. So yeah, we have global partners.
What is your current role in this company? Do you work to your daily activities is to acquire new banks, to find new clients for your technologies, or what do you do basically?
Yeah, so I'm Chief Commercial Officer at Sedicii. So my role is to develop partnerships with other providers to bring new banks and um, new government agencies on board, so that we we have as many people as possible using our technology is my role. So it's for a lot of things it's involves bringing multiple parties together. So I think, you know, even for one bank to have confidence in a solution, it requires the infrastructure provider, so maybe the core banking solution provider. It requires the advisory firm who advises the bank to say, look, what you're doing is a good idea and will save you money and will be compliant with regulations. So it involves, you know, even with one customer, you have to work with multiple parties. So doing anything in financial services is usually slow, has a long decision-making cycle. So my role is to try and help that along and to ensure that we, as a company, Sedicii, work with good people who can who can bring something good to our ultimate clients, and also, you know, that we make it easy for our clients to adopt digital solutions. And that's my role. So lots of time talking to different organizations with whom I've built relationships over the years, and also new parties.
That's interesting business model from my point of view, if I understood it correctly. So you find some partners who talk to your potential clients, who can push them to use your technology, and after that how does it work? Like it's like revenue share model, or what?
Well, really, it can be a revenue share model where, you know, let's say if there's a large technology system integrator who says, look, we can bring your solution to a number of banks. They need a solution in your space. We will take your technology and we will implement it for you, and we'll give you 40% of the revenue, or 20%, or 80%, whatever the deal might be. But yeah, we can work in that way. Or separate to this, we you know, system integrators and technology companies want to continually be relevant with their customers. So they need to bring new solutions to them. So whether they're an advisory firm or a system integrator, you know, whether it's a big four like Ernst EY or PwC or KPMG or Accenture, you know, they need to bring new solutions to their customers. They want them to their customers want them, and they will make money from advising them as they move forward with things. So you know, sometimes there's absolutely no revenue share at all. Like in those instances, it's just, we're a good provider. We have good technology. The advisory firm knows that if they recommend us, that we'll do a good job, and their customer will be happy.
Yeah, I see. So such software development companies, for example, like ours, we can use your technology for both. Either maybe we can earn something with you, or maybe we can just be a good company. I understand. What about Ireland? Basically, it's our first interview with someone from that country. What about FinTech in Ireland? Is it different from other countries? Is it adopted something from UK? What's going on there?
Yeah, so I mean, Ireland is an interesting country in terms of fintech, because and we have traditionally a strong heritage in currency. Because if you think about it, Ireland was we have the Republic of Ireland in the south, and then in the north we have Northern Ireland. So Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom, and they use the currency sterling. So on this island at the moment, we have sterling being used in the north, and we have the UK pound, and then we have the euro in the south of Ireland, the Republic. And but before that, we also had the Irish pound. So over at one point, we had three currencies running at one time. We had the Irish pound was just being converted into the euro, and we had the sterling in the north. So there's a strong heritage in currency. So we have Fexco is a really great provider, Monex, and then there was a company Fintrax as well, which is very good on the currency front. Likewise, then we're the largest, because the UK have are leaving the European Union. We're the largest English speaking well-educated workforce in Europe when the UK leaves. So it's a very good base for technology companies and banks to locate here. So we've got the international headquarters of the top ten companies in the world. Google, Facebook, all of these, Amazon here. With their international headquarters are often here. So it's an interesting space, and because of that, we've got a lot of providers who provide financial services to those large organizations as well. So yeah, no, it's a very vibrant scene. We're very good on the reg tech in particular, and lots of interesting things. No, we don't have any challenger banks or anything which have come to life in Ireland. There's only in the south of Ireland. There's 4.5, 5 million people, and we haven't had any challenger banks of our own grow here. But we have had the tremendous success story of Stripe. So Stripe, the Collison brothers are Irish. They come from about 60 kilometers away from my house, just down here, and they started Stripe, should I say, and moved to the United States and grew a company that's now worth close to 40 billion. So the largest privately held fintech, you could say.
Yeah, that's really interesting story. Like Revolut, founded by Russian guy from Moscow, actually.
Yeah. Well, Nikolai, I know from Level 39, where I hosted my conference. I knew Revolut when they were just starting. Maybe 6 people, that type of thing, and it's been a tremendous success. It's really changed everybody's view of how you can manage money and send money to each other easily, and it's tremendous valuation. 5.5 billion on the last valuation. It's a good job. It's a very good job.
Yeah, but are they profitable already or still not?
Oh no, they're loss making at the moment, but that doesn't seem to stop investors wanting to continue to invest. It's continually going up in value. I suppose they have a tremendous user base. They claim, I think 12 million at the moment as a user base. How many of them are monthly active customers and use them as their primary account? I don't know. I would suspect not a lot. But there's a lot of people who use the service and love it. Personally myself, I've used it since 2016, and I would show my Irish banks here. I'd say, look, here's all the information that Revolut knows about my spending patterns, and here's all you see. You see a transfer to Revolut, 200 euros, 500 euros, whatever it is. but you don't know what I'm spending things on. So if Revolut can go to the next stage to provide personalized offers to me based on my spending that are interesting, I think that's with that level of data, that will be interesting to see if they go there next.
Yeah, but this is really a huge job there, because it's difficult to understand which transaction, who is a receiver, who is receiver, which products or services have you bought. So I don't know how is that possible to solve such a problem, actually.
Well, I think Revolut, if I open my Revolut account here, I can see what I've spent on groceries. I can see what I've spent on different categories. And if Revolut were to say, look, you usually spend money at this provider here. Let me just see if I can find this. So the this month I've only spent 154 euros on Revolut this month, 100 on transfers, 25 on groceries, 22 on restaurants, and one other transaction for $6.99, which I believe was Disney Plus for my children. But if I look back over time, in 2016, 17, and 18, I was spending about 40,000 a year on Revolut, and I had just because I'm not traveling at the moment, I'm not spending as much. But when I worked at Level 39 and coming from Ireland, having to change currency, I was using Revolut all the time. So they knew when I was eating in Pret a Manger, or when I was eating in a nice coffee shop in Shoreditch or whatever. If they were able to offer me discounts or incentives to spend at a certain category of merchant, that would have been interesting to me, but they just weren't there as yet. But at least when I go to the airport, if I have notifications turn on, they can say, hey, are you traveling? Or when I land in the UK, they say, did you get travel insurance? Do you want to get that now before you leave the airport in London for one day? This is valuable. So I think but we haven't seen what we would have expected from fintechs and marketplaces as yet. We haven't seen people monetizing data properly. The only people globally, really, in my view, who have monetized data effectively, of course, you've got Amazon with their space. But if we stick with financial services, MasterCard and Visa, particularly MasterCard, their data and services business, where they anonymize transactions, they send back to their banks data and data-driven insights on how their customers are spending, without compromising the privacy of the individual. They say, well, look, your customers are really spending a lot of money at on Champions League football tickets. Maybe you need to give an incentive for this, something along those lines. But MasterCard are probably the ones who have at least monetized transaction data effectively. Will we see Revolut do this? Will we see Starling Bank? Will we see others do this? If it respects privacy, and if it makes people's lives easier, saves them money, or makes them money, that's a good thing, provided it respects people's privacy. But I think this is the opportunity for Revolut and for other organizations to monetize that data.
Yeah, that's interesting trend you see here, because loyalty programs, some personalization of the relationships. This is data is gold, especially today. So I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, this is a common expression. Data is the new oil, or data is gold, or whatever. But if you think that in oil, you in Russia know a lot about oil. when you take oil out of the ground, that crude oil, it's unrefined, it's not useful for a lot of things. You need to apply some technology and some skill in order to make it usable for the purpose. So if you know, data is actually a liability in a lot of cases, because if you have data and you're not using it, there's a cost of you having and storing all this data. There's a regulatory cost, and there also could be a privacy breach, which costs you even more. So I think for data to become truly valuable, you need to make sure, number one, that it's not costing you money or potentially going to cost you a regulatory fine or a privacy breach. That's important. And then before you go to the stage where it becomes valuable to you, you have to refine that crude data and make it useful. But people are not really doing that very well, because unfortunately there's a lot of in banks, there's paper processes, there's digital processes, and there's no common view of the customer. You know, I could be in a bank under 6 different accounts that are not linked properly, so there's no view of me. I mean, today I wanted to pay off a loan, a business loan that I had, and I couldn't transfer my business account at the bank is separate to my loan account, and my business bank wasn't allowing me to clear my loan and to transfer money into my loan account for some reason. You know, it's it's pretty crazy. So you know, a single view of a customer is a good step forward. Digitizing and making truly digital solutions for your customers is a good step forward. I think only when you make that type of infrastructure investment can you think about becoming so useful for customers that you can offer them relevant insights based on their data and their transaction history. So there's a long way to go.
That's very interesting. But why there's not so much of startups? Why still is we see such an obsolete situation? I mean, why is it happening?
Large organizations are slow to change. So when banks want to keep ownership and keep everybody else away from their customer, they have gone through the expensive process of having a branch where you can walk in with your passport and open an account. And they've looked after these customers. They're very reluctant to, a lot of them, to pull other technologies or third parties in to allow innovation. And you know, when you get to a certain size of organization, it's hard to innovate and to do things. And when you have legacy technology stacks, it's hard to do things quickly. So it's a constant battle between those who have traditionally made money in the past and owned the customer, and new technology providers. And you know, one of the things that Revolut has managed to do is, you know, in Ireland we're only you know, about 3 million adults, and it seems like over 1 million adults have a Revolut card. You know, so that's a big a big indication that people want digital solutions that they're not getting from their current bank. And it's not that they've all moved to Revolut as their primary bank. I would say less than 100,000 people. I would say, in fact, I would say less than 50,000 people would use Revolut as their primary bank out of over 1 million accounts. So you know, 5%. I think that you know, there's a long way to go before you know, the challengers take over, and there's also a long way to go before the incumbents bring great digital solutions to their customers. So you know, for you as a software development company for banks, you know, there should be a lot of work in the future.
Yeah, we've had an interview with Darren Hughes, director of Cashoff from UK. He said that 74% of customers would give more personal data to companies they trust in exchange for discounts on some products they are interested in. So this is really a huge field to work. I think there are really some opportunities.
Yeah, well, trust is the key word, you know. I mean, do do people trust Revolut entirely?
Uh,
You know, they've had issues and negative stories about how they treat their staff. They've had negative stories around their turning off their AML checks for a period of time. You know, there's a difference between topping up by 20 euros so that you can send money to the people you play five-a-side soccer with to pay for the AstroTurf rental for 1 hour. There's a difference between that and holding all of your money at an organization. So trust is the key word. And I think what we've seen about data, for someone who thought that consent was a big thing and that privacy of our data is something that people really care about, you know, we look at how people use Facebook and Google these days and are subject to surveillance capitalism, where they're willing for you know, to know that, you know, Google reads their emails to use the free service. I mean, we're pretty. It's easy to get us to part with our data, you know, for a good service. You know, you can do that. I mean, if I have a friend who says that, you know, if you're at an airport and you need Wi-Fi, you're willing to sign over one of your children to the Wi-Fi provider just to make the bloody thing work. You know, you know, people will do anything for a good service. You know, so I think the opportunity is to earn trust, and that's what financial organizations, startups have to do. For incumbent banks, you know, they have the trust, they have all of the opportunity awaiting for them. It's just a matter of whether they take it or not.
Couple of last questions. I haven't spoken with anyone about the news on what's happening with WireCard. So maybe you will share some opinion. What will be changed in financial industry after such a huge scandal?
Well, you know, it's a big problem for BaFin in Germany, who are, you know, supposed to be keeping an eye on these things. It's a big problem for EY as the auditor. I mean, they signed off on their accounts. This is, you know, does it damage fintech so much? I think there was some inconvenience for some customers of let's say banks like Anna Money in the UK and Curve, but Curve managed to change their issuer, change their processor over a weekend. Away, they were already making moves away from WireCard, but they managed to change away over a weekend. I mean, can you imagine if that happened with an incumbent bank? It would be crazy. So I think you know, I don't think fintech is damaged by WireCard. I think you know, it's crazy that they were worth more than Deutsche Bank at one stage. You know, that's absolutely crazy. What, 24 billion or something? And it's terrible that fraud exists, but you know, fraud exists in every industry. I don't think fintech will be bothered by this. I think it just demonstrates the resilience of companies like Curve and Anna Money to be able to pivot away from certain providers. And you know, I think it will be okay. It will be okay.
Yeah, I think Buffin would definitely make some conclusions and they will change something in regulations after that. But yeah, I see your opinion, understand, absolutely agree.
I think regulators now are very slow to hand out full banking licenses and to allow organizations to rent out their license easily to third parties. So I think, we've seen in Ireland where a lot of UK banks wanted to establish a full banking license here in Ireland to have access to Europe, and our regulator hasn't been welcoming them with open arms. Even if they're well capitalized, there's a there's a risk, and there's a conservative nature in regulators, as there should be. And maybe this means that there's more scrutiny and less, even in Germany, where you would think that they would be the most vigilant. So yeah, I think it's everybody will need to improve how they operate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is how things are going. Something's happening, and we made conclusions.
Yeah, more reg tech, huh? Like, so good opportunity for Sedicii.
Yeah. In the end of conversation, traditionally, I always ask about maybe some important mistakes which you made in the past, and some conclusions out of that. It's regarding what we have talked just right now about. It's especially interesting.
Yeah. So personally, I think I'm an optimist, and I see opportunity, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've always had my own businesses, and I think the biggest mistake I have made is being too optimistic about timelines for how financial services moves forward. It usually takes 3 times as long as you think, if it ever happens. So maybe my optimism is tempered a little bit in dealing with banks, expecting them to change. So if you're a fintech wanting a large organizations to move, you better have time and resources to wait and be patient. That's probably my biggest learning. And then secondly, just as with any business, trust is key, and who you work with, you need to know well whose technology you're relying on, and that they are honorable people. As we saw with WireCard, it seems like you would never question a German global organization with a market cap of over 24 billion. You would think that this would be fine with EY as as an auditor. I mean, it usually doesn't get that much better than that. But even in that case, you just have to be careful who you do business with, and if there's any indication of, usually if there's people making too much money, it's an indication to be careful.
Yeah, very good advices. So double check your partners, and be patient.
Absolutely. But look, love to bring some solutions to Russia, and to all of your listeners. Please get in touch with Sedicii, SEDICII.com. Happy to chat and see what we can do, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, we will post the link. We also will translate this interview to Russian. We will post it in our Russian blog. So I guess you will find some part. I hope you will find some interesting contacts out of it.
Well, whenever COVID hopefully passes and we can travel there, I look forward to meeting you and seeing the fintech scene in Russia.
Yeah, I may say the same. When I will be someday in Ireland, I would love to meet you in person too.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. Have a nice day. Bye.